and welcome everybody. I think I speak for my colleagues when I say we are so excited for this webinar tonight, and thank all of you for joining us to hear about this amazing, really one-of-a-kind phonics intervention. It is truly next generation. I'm delighted to be joined by my colleagues Barbara and Shanitra and Joni and Leah, and you're just in for a wonderful evening. So thanks again so much for joining us. We're going to talk about our LIS, our Literacy Intervention System, and we are going to introduce 95 Phonics Lesson Library 2.0. Now, some of you joining us tonight might currently use our Phonics Lesson Library, and you're going to be delighted to see this next generation of this outstanding product. And for those of you who are new to the Phonics Lesson Library, welcome. This is a game changer as far as I'm concerned. And there's more. You will have the opportunity at the end of this webinar to receive a trial to our 95 Phonics Lesson Library 2.0. So be sure to stay with us to learn about that great, exciting opportunity. All right, so if you are new to 95% Group, this is just a little bit about us. We hold these foundational principles as our North Stars. We believe that all children deserve a chance to learn to read, and our purpose is to unlock the power of literacy for every child. And I'm guessing that every single one of you joining us, as I was looking at that list of people joining us, thank you for sharing that mission with us, and thank you for the work that you do every day. We do this by building on the science to empower all of you educators by supplying knowledge, resources, and support to transform your developing readers. And again, we're so delighted to really focus tonight on this wonderful resource for you. So this diagram is really about how we're really distinctive in the marketplace in that we've built this one-of-a-kind, what we call our literacy ecosystem. Our ecosystem is a cohesive suite of resources that align with our standards of excellence, that align with the values and the mission that we just talked about, and they align across tiers of instruction. So let me unpack this a little bit. What this diagram shows is our key products in each tier of instruction. So tier 1, core instruction, we have our Phonics Core program. And maybe some of you joining us tonight are users of the Phonics Core program. It's a 30-minute-a-day solution for foundational skills K-5. Our tier 2 solution, which is the focus of the webinar tonight, is our Phonics Lesson Library. And within tier 2 is our literacy intervention system, which provides the digital diagnostic assessment and intervention instruction to really target our students' needs and intervention. And we have a wonderful tier 3 intensive intervention product called 95 WRAP. Our PSI, or our Phonics Screener for Intervention, as you see with the arrow here, is that digital diagnostic tool that provides the link between core and intervention and really helps us to pinpoint student needs with precision within that literacy intervention system. So with that background, I really want to, without further delay, turn it over to my colleague, Shanitra Dees.
Thank you, Laura. So good evening, everyone. We are so excited, as Laura shared, to share the literacy intervention system with you tonight, but also our Phonics Lesson Library 2.0. So Leah, if you'll move to the next slide. So our literacy intervention system is designed to make teaching more efficient while driving better outcomes for students. So just some highlights: the literacy intervention system, or LIS as we refer to it, quickly diagnoses phoneme awareness and phonics skill gaps, providing data at a granular level. The system automatically organizes and manages student groups for instruction, saving you valuable time. And you also get real-time progress monitoring, ensuring that students get the support they need when they need it. So the centralized data in the system allows teachers, administrators, collaborators from a school or across the district to stay aligned, and makes it a great fit for your MTSS frameworks. Also within the system, we have embedded professional learning, so teachers can confidently implement this evidence-based instruction. So we can move on to the next slide and talk a little bit about the student piece. So at the core of the literacy intervention system is the ability to deeply understand a student's needs through comprehensive diagnostics. So here's how it works. So teachers can easily administer diagnostic skill assessments to uncover the phoneme awareness and phonics skill gaps. The results from these assessments provide immediate, actionable insights detailing intervention services and the progress made. And the system really makes it easy to start or schedule new assessments to ensure that ongoing monitoring and adjustments are made as students progress. So with these tools, educators can provide targeted interventions that truly address the unique skills and needs of each learner, setting them up for success. We can move on to the next slide. So let's talk just a moment about the diagnostic assessment, the digital assessment that we have that is baked into the literacy intervention system. The Phonics Screener for Intervention, which Laura mentioned previously, is digital here. And so it makes it easier for teachers to administer and pinpoint the gaps to begin instruction. And so here's how it works. Assessments are seamlessly integrated with devices like Chromebooks, iPads, and laptops. If you are a legacy PSI or PASI user, you can still use the paper pencil option as well. Additionally, as students read, teachers can observe, listen, and mark performance to highlight patterns like errors, hesitations, or consistent struggles with sounds. And so this detailed real-time data allows teachers to provide that right instructional support at the right time. It's really about building that individualized pathway to the success of each student. And so one of the most exciting aspects of the literacy intervention system is how it connects those identified skill gaps to specific targeted resources. So let's say that a student needs support with a particular skill. Teachers can quickly open digital intervention tools, view instructional videos, or even add resources to the playlist for later access. So the playlist feature is incredibly flexible, giving teachers an easy way to revisit important materials. This ensures that at every moment in the classroom, it's used effectively for driving better outcomes for both teachers and students. Additionally, this feature allows teachers to group students according to their skill deficits. So now it is my honor and privilege to introduce my friend and colleague, Joni Mayville, Senior Director of Product Development here at 95% Group.
Thank you, Shanitra. I am thrilled to introduce you to the brand new Phonics Lesson Library 2.0. It is truly, as Laura stated earlier, the next generation of literacy intervention. And I get the privilege to give you a sneak peek at this new, refreshed, and enhanced phonics resource. Really excited to share this with you. So as you just heard Shanitra explain a little bit about the literacy intervention system, which helps teachers assess and group students, which makes it easy to move quickly from screening to instruction, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the instruction and how 95 Phonics Lesson Library, which is a Tier 2 phonics intervention, is designed to align perfectly skill for skill with the 95 Phonics Screener for Intervention that Shanitra just discussed. So this evidence-based, easy-to-use program empowers teachers to provide focused intervention and deliver explicit instruction for students in first grade and beyond. The library features a 5-day, each lesson is a 5-day lesson that's designed to help students build skill-based proficiency. It follows a structured literacy routine and it emphasizes transferring text, transferring skills to text for real world applications. So these key features that I've just explained also align directly with our previous first edition of the Phonics Lesson Library, which had an SL Level 2 evidence review for intervention instruction. So we're really proud to carry those same routines into this new program. I'd like to first, this shows an overview of the skill progression. It's broken up into 3 different levels: the basic skills, advanced skills, and multi-syllable skills. There's 75 total lessons that target these specific sub-skills. You can see one of the examples here is closed short vowel I, which we will be doing some modeling with in a little bit. And in that, so once a student is assessed using the screener, it will direct teachers to the instruction that they need to specifically hit that target skill for those students. So there's 32 total lessons for the basic level, which is highlighted with that green header, 25 at the advanced level, which has the orange header, and 18 at the multi-syllable level, which is highlighted with the navy blue header. Next slide, please. I'd like for you to go ahead and take a look at this. This is our weekly timing guide, which shows how the 5 days of the lesson progresses over that 5-day period. It begins with teachers introducing the targeted skill, guiding students to identify and articulate the specific phonics pattern or phoneme. Really focuses in on mastering that phonics pattern. And it uses multimodal tasks designed to build that automaticity. So early on in the week, the focus is on identifying that pattern. Every day, the students are tasked with applying that new learning in some scaffolded manner to the text, so the decodable passage that is provided within the lesson. And that we call that a transfer to text approach, which helps build that confidence and comprehension while reinforcing the skills through repeated practice and application. We begin by highlighting the key words in the passage. Then the students are tasked with reading the pattern words. Then next, they read a portion of the passage with a lot of guidance from the teacher. Teacher does a lot of modeling of fluency, and then those students are replicating that when they're doing their independent practice of reading the passage. By the end of the week, the students are reading that entire passage, and the best part is then they are testing that comprehension from those skills that they've applied through written and oral comprehension questions, which we know is the purpose behind reading. Next slide, please. So let's take a moment to go ahead and review some of the key parts of this cycle that we've covered so far. So Shanitra talked about the literacy intervention system, which helps to assess and group students. And then I introduced the main features of the Phonics Lesson Library, but I'm going to get a little bit deeper into this newly enhanced program, which provides flexible options for facilitating both digitally and through print. It really enhances that experience for both the teachers and the students. Next slide, please. So when designing the new Phonics Lesson Library, we held numerous focus groups with educators because we know how important what you're doing in your classroom matters. So we met with educators that are both using our previous edition of the Phonics Lesson Library and those who would be interested in using a similar model of the Phonics Lesson Library. And one key takeaway that we got from all of those sessions that was consistent was that flexibility. The teachers wanted that flexibility. Some felt a little hesitant on using digital. Some felt like digital was the way they wanted to go. So we knew we had to be able to come up with this new enhanced program that was going to provide that flexibility in all ways. So I'm going to take a moment and walk you through the different ways you can use it. We're going to focus on the instruction piece. We're going to focus on how a teacher would model using primarily that digital component, and then we'll talk about the student application piece. So here is a view of the teacher edition. You see on the left, you have our printed teachers editions. So you can purchase the printed edition of the Phonics Lesson Library, or you may choose to go digitally. Some people prefer that being familiar with print, while others may appreciate the flexibility and the convenience that the digital access would provide them. So the content in both the print and digital are exactly the same. It's just all about personal preference. So let's take a closer look inside the teacher's edition so I can point out a few of the intentional design features that are included. So this is the inside of lesson 2.3 that I had highlighted earlier on the timing guide. To keep the lessons on track, because they are 30 minutes in length, each section has a time allotment that we recommend. So for instance, you can see here on the page, sort words is 5 minutes. We often will recommend you set a timer. We provide ample word choices and prompt selections. We don't anticipate you're going to get to all of those in the period of time that we're recommending, but we want to make sure you have enough practice opportunities during that time that we are recommending. This will help you manage your lesson within 30 minutes. Each part of the lesson also has clear goals so the teachers know exactly what outcomes that they're aiming for. And finally, like all of our programs in our ecosystem, we have that explicit design that ensures that teachers can confidently deliver the instruction, which will maximize student success. In each lesson, we have what we call an instructional dialogue. This fosters that engaging conversation between teachers and students. It really boosts that engagement. It encourages teachers or students to want to participate. And another nice feature of that instructional dialogue is it's really fostering that oral language development while the students are also learning that particular targeted phonics skill. So in the teacher's guide, similar to our old PLL, and if you are using our PCP and some of our other products, we like to include images that are right alongside the instruction that you're providing your students. It really helps to provide that clarity for teachers in how that the lesson and those manipulatives will look on either the screen or on the table surface if you're using physical manipulatives. And finally, we know that a strong piece of all of our instructional materials and all of our programs are the notes and support that we provide teachers. So embedded throughout, there are plenty of pedagogical notes that basically guide you and help you to facilitate the lesson as it's intended and also provide any support for students they may need along the way. So because this program is flexible, we did want to make sure that teachers knew at the point of use when they will be launching any digital components of the program or when they will need to have specific materials, physical materials ready if you are using the physical materials. So that is very prominently listed right there in the teacher's edition. The lesson also follows the gradual release of responsibility model, which is boldly labeled throughout the teacher's guide. So you know exactly when you are modeling for the students, when you need to encourage the students to be practicing with you. And remember that we do is certainly important to be sure that those students are ready to then go on to the independent application task during the you do part. And again, this is kind of repetitive, but as I mentioned, there's also that focus on offering varied opportunities for students to respond. You can see here, this is a choral response, which is done often throughout the program, really reinforces those high levels of engagement and also that support for oral language development. I did mention before that we provide those word lists for teachers, and we provide way more than you're going to need, but we don't want you to have to take the time to create those lists. So those are all provided for you. Everything that you're going to need to facilitate those particular components of the lesson are available to you. Again, way more than you're going to need in that time frame, but we want to make sure you have more than not enough. The lesson format is designed to be very visibly clear, making it easy for teachers to move through the lesson smoothly. We know that that is often problematic in programs that are scripted. This, as I said, is an instructional dialogue, so it's formatted as such. There's a lot of conversation happening between teachers and students. And each lesson is strategically built to include spiral review of previously taught patterns. So you can see here in this word chain, this is the short I lesson, but the lesson previously before that, I'm sorry, this is actually from 2.4, which is the short O lesson. 2.3 was short I. So you can see how they've built in this word chain, short O words and short I words. And you can also see in the example off to the right in the additional word chains that there's also short A in there, which was also included in a previous lesson. So that spiral is extremely important to make that learning stick. So throughout the 5 days of the lesson, students are going to have the opportunity to apply their knowledge using a variety of multimodal approaches. This keeps the lessons engaging and it helps support all students in the learning process. They'll practice by articulating phonemes using mirrors. They'll manipulate color-coded phonics chips to build patterns in words and/or syllable bars to build multisyllable words. They will also participate in word sorting activities, and something that's very familiar to a lot of users of 95% group programs is they have those gestures that we're expecting 100% engagement when they are gesturing to represent the difference of each of the different 6 syllable types. And finally, we know that writing is such a key piece to ensuring that those students are solidifying whatever phonics pattern or pattern they're working on. So there are writing activities as well, such as word chaining, sound spelling mapping, sentence dictation, response to reading. So lots of opportunities for the students to actually put pencil to paper. Laura mentioned earlier that 95% group builds on the science to empower teachers with the knowledge, resources, and support they need to help students become strong readers. And that's something we do very well here at 95% group, or at least I believe we do very well here. And I think that I've heard lots of our clients also um, indicate that that's something that they feel we are very strong at, is supporting teachers in their learning process as well. We know that there's a lot of things teachers don't learn in their pre-service. And so we hopefully can be be a part of your educational journey and your professional growth. So with the Phonics Lesson Library, you will receive a 40-page implementation guide that has lots of pictures and information to help you through your journey of beginning implementing these lessons. Something really new to our ecosystem is this great plastic coated interactive tool called a tool for elevating oracy. And it has everything from scaffolds to sentence stems, frames, support for building oral language in your classroom, because we know more than ever that is something that is really becoming an important piece of all of our daily instruction, no matter which subject area. This is going to be right at your fingertips. It slides right into your TE like a bookmark, and it is also write on and wipe off, so you can check those scaffolds you'd like to use in your instruction and be able to go right to them at the point of use in your teaching. There's also this is also a new addition to our ecosystem and has been requested by lots of our educators that are using our products, these small instructional routine cards. It's a deck of 7 and they are 2-sided, and they include things like our syllable types and our gestures, our routines, so they can be an easy reference for you as the educator, or you can even use them in a small group as a visual anchor for your students as well. So these tools are the first of their kind in our ecosystem, and we're confident they're going to be able to be a valuable resource as you begin implementing our intervention program. And I did mention embedded supports, and we saw that in the interior of the book, but throughout the book, inside, printed within the TE, we have recommendations for scaffolding routines, our common routines that are repeated over and over again throughout the lesson, steps for corrective feedback, because we know that needs to be timely, and often we aren't sure how to formulate that type of feedback. So we are providing you with all of that support along the way. Now I get to show you a little look into the digital. So what you see here on the left, it is an example of what modeling would look like using our digital teacher presentation files. So you see a teacher with a small group of students on her tablet showing chip movement in our digital teacher presentation files. On the right, you see what it would look like with the students on their devices. So the teacher is right there with them. This is very teacher-centric. Teacher is monitoring, guiding, coaching, providing real-time feedback throughout the process of them using their devices. So as I mentioned earlier, each lesson in the 95 Phonics Lesson Library can be broken down into 3 stages. We have the I do, or the teacher models, the we do, where the teacher and students practice together, and then the you do, where students apply their learning on their own. For the modeling during the I do and we do stages, teachers can either use physical cards and manipulatives, which can be printed or purchased in our manipulative kit, or they can use our handy dandy teacher presentation files, which is very user-friendly. No maintenance is needed, and they can act as that teaching aid that you need. You would just be clicking through and really be able to monitor how your students are progressing during that I do, we do stage of the lesson. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to click through what the presentation file would look like. This happens to be the I do and we do portion using the teacher presentation file. Following that, I will show you what the student activity module when they go off to their you do. So keep in mind what you're seeing here would be presented on a teacher tablet or a teacher laptop at the small group table facing the students, and they would be using this as their modeling device. Go ahead and let's see what sort words would look like. So they are sorting short I words into the itch column or the no column based on if it is a short I pattern word or if it does not follow the pattern word. Then once they've gone through the I do and the we do portion, which there are more opportunities for we do, we've shortened that for the sake of the webinar, but they would then come to a screen like this on the presentation file. And what you see on the right is what the students will see on their screen. They'll be directed to punch on day 2 and sort words. And as a reminder, the teacher sees that they can use either this on this screen shows how they can use, they can either use the word cards, the student word cards, so the students can manipulate the physical pieces, or they can use their devices to be able to sort the words similar to how we did that on the presentation screen. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a quick demo video of what the student screen would look like. So the students would pull open their device and word cards would pop up and they would sort them. They're instructed to point to the vowel letter, say the vowel sound, and then sort it under the correct column. And the nice part about this digital, the student activity modules, otherwise known as SAM, is that it does have a corrective feedback loop with it. Now, this is not taking the teacher out of the picture. What this is doing is it's allowing the teacher to be able to lean into one student at a time and really focus on one student at a time while the others are still receiving the feedback they need until the teacher can get to them. They sort several rounds of pattern and non-pattern cards or words until the teacher is able to meet with each student to make sure that they're progressing.
Joni, there was a question in the chat about, do students need headphones? And I think that's an important question.
Oh, that is a great question. So when we were creating these student activity modules, it was very important that there were no barriers between the students and the teachers. This is very teacher-centric. We still want the teacher and the student to be interacting at all times. So at no point do the students need to put on headphones. There's no sound to distract other members of the other students sitting at the table. If a student needs assistance, and it always is stated in the teacher's guide that before they set them off, that if they have any questions, they need to raise their hand so the teacher can come and sit by them specifically to work through their problems. But we also state throughout the lessons, it's very important that that teacher is going from student to student and has an opportunity to be able to tend to each student individually, because we know that they're sitting at that small group table for a reason and they need that teacher's attention. So no, headphones are not needed, nor are they recommended. Any other questions while I'm here? No? Okay. I believe just a couple more slides here. Actually, this might be my last. Um, what you are looking at here is an overview of the 5 days. The gray boxes represent the teacher-directed activities. So the ones that are grayed out do not have a student activity module with them. So they are things like the phonemic awareness review, which is only requiring for students to listen and be able to either segment sounds or identify a particular sound or pattern in a word, or writing activities, which we know are so critical for those students still to have that pencil to paper. So you can see here that most of the other very important activities can be done using that student activity module, which really helps to cut down on any prep work, cleanup, missing parts and pieces. And if you've used our program in the past, you know there are a lot of components that go with it, very important components, but they are hard and difficult to manage. So with that said, and that small little overview, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Leah, who would like to share with you all of the good stuff and packaging and everything you need to know to be able to get PLL 2.0 into your hands.
Yes, thank you, Joni, and thank you for the beautiful guided tour of all of your team's hard work. So I am here to talk about packaging and just sort of, obviously we've talked about a lot of different components, from the instruction to the modeling to the application, and of course there are different ways to do it, right? There are sort of those more traditional print modalities, and there are also the digital. Hopefully we've illustrated for you sort of the beauty of both, and having that the consistency and the familiarity of the print, but also the flexibility of the digital. There's a lot of beauty to having sort of both of these options. So we think that sort of the best path forward is to have a little bit of both, and to allow your teachers to sort of, customize the solution that they end up using for the needs of their students and for their own comfort. So there is kind of some beauty to having the whole kit and caboodle and being able to choose amongst those modalities depending on that comfort level. I do want to surface to you the sort of packaging options. So I've seen a lot of questions about, if we have PLL 1.0, how can we leverage this digital? I've seen those questions come in the chat a few times, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. First, the big reveal is here. So at the top, you will see that the different kind of modalities are sold separately, right? So if you wanted just the print, if you want just those kind of print, you want the print teachers editions, you want the print cards, you love to do pencil and paper, and we know that there are lots of people who love to do intervention that way and feel strongly about it. We have options for you there, right? So that print kit comes with those teacher's guides, the manipulative pieces, the student chips, which if you are familiar with our Phonics Lesson Library 1.0, that used to be a separate purchase. We've now included them in this kit because we know how important that movement is, and being able to incorporate that instruction. All those teacher cards, again, those fun pieces that Joni mentioned, those ringed routine cards where you're able to kind of have those on your desk as a reference, that insert for elevating oracy, and then also there's access to the printable pieces from our 195 platform. And the nice thing about that is that you'll be able to reprint things that get goofed up. Somebody accidentally uses a Sharpie instead of a whiteboard marker, or a card gets stomped on, and you need a new one. You can actually print and replace those pieces, which used to be a little bit more challenging with the sort of original Phonics Lesson Library solution. So hopefully that printable element is really helpful. Because these teachers' editions are sort of bound into books now, it's basically like a one per educator sort of situation. That's the best use case, is if every teacher kind of gets the kit that they need in order to be successful. As Joni talked about at the beginning, there are those 3 levels of kit, right? There are basic skills, advanced skills, and multi-syllable skills. And you can sort of customize the purchase to be whatever you need it to be. So if you have people who just need basic, you can just get basic. The digital is really neat. So I want to take a minute to describe to you the way that this digital works. So obviously the print is kind of a by level purchase, right? There's a basic, there's the advanced, there's the multi-syllable. If you get this sort of like site school-wide access digital package, it includes both the literacy intervention system, so that wonderful tool that Shanitra showed us at the beginning, where we can assess students and be supported with sort of like some tech-assisted grouping. All of that is included, along with access to all of those digital pieces that you saw tonight. So the digital teachers editions are included. So you have access to that new sort of revised, updated instruction. The presentation files that Joni showed us, where you're kind of like sorting cards, and that's that modeling tool that makes that gradual release really straightforward. The student activity modules, which are those child-facing pieces where they're applying that knowledge at the small group table. And then again, of course, those printable assets. So if you get that digital access and you want to do something on paper, you feel really strongly that, well, I'm struggling to think of an example now, that chip movement needs to be done on paper, you can print those things out if you want to and cut them up and do it physically. The subscription here is an annual subscription. But it does get access to everyone in the building, which is really nice. So instead of purchasing something for, I have maybe a few teachers who are working in an intervention context and they desperately need these things, giving access to just those teachers. By accessing that digital, it really opens it up to the school community. So maybe we have some classroom teachers who would really benefit from being able to share some of this with their students. That access really opens up when you have the digital. So again, there's some beauty to having both and having pieces that are going to support your educators depending on sort of their preferences and how they like to work. But hopefully that helps to kind of give you a little bit of context for how this sort of packaging is put together. In terms of, does the original PLL, what we'll call 1.0 for the sake of the example, is that compatible with the digital of 2.0? And the answer is in parts. So the teacher presentation files are not compatible. There's just like a little bit too much changed between 1.0 and 2.0 for those presentation files to match up. But the student activity modules could be used alongside. So if you wanted that digital student-facing piece, it could be used alongside Phonics Lesson Library 1.0. But the thing I would say to you is that if you get access to the student activity modules here, you also get access to the teacher's guides for 2.0. So there's really never a situation where you'll have to do that, where you'll have to sort of mix and match, because there is that instruction that's included digitally. So I could just pull up the teacher's edition on my tablet and swipe through the pages, just like I would in a normal book. So the instruction is exactly the same. Hopefully that helps to answer some of those questions. Certainly welcome any more that you may have. But I do want to talk about the availability timeline. So we're really, really excited to get this into folks' hands and have it, sort of start transforming and making lives easier as soon as possible. The printed materials, so the physical books, the manipulative kits, all that kind of stuff, those begin to ship in early May of this year. So really, really excited to have those available for you. The digital subscriptions start in July. So they will begin in July and they will last a year. So they'll get you that full school year. They're not going to start in May and end in May. So they'll start at that July timeframe so that you're able to get that full school year of usage, which hopefully will be helpful. I want to offer you some fun opportunity here. So, what we have created is a digital trial of the Phonics Lesson Library 2.0, and we're really excited to be able to offer this like real hands-on. I see lots of questions about, oh, I would love to see a sample of a passage. I would love to see a sample of this, and this is exactly how you do it, right? So we have a week's worth of instruction. So basically one skill of instruction from each level of the phonics lesson library. So there's a week of basic, a week of advanced skills, and a week of multi-syllable skills. And you're able to really implement these. If you actually wanted to print this out and use it in a classroom and really try it, all of the materials are included. So we'll provide you with those digital teachers editions, the kind of, the PDF of the lesson effectively. Those are printable for you. And then you can also print those physical materials. So again, if you're a person who prefers the old-fashioned sort of like classic pencil and paper intervention, that's great. Go ahead and print those pieces. But if you want to try out that digital and see what that experience is like, we have the teacher presentation file for that basic version and the access to the student activity modules for all 3 levels. So there is really an opportunity to go in there and try these things out, see how you feel about it, see how it think it would operate in your own classroom. Really excited again to be able to share this with you. Do scan that trial or copy down that link. I know that that will also be included in the follow-up email, but if you would like to get started before the follow-up email comes, I would encourage you to just take either a quick scan of that or note down that email or the URL. I know the difference, I promise. I did also see a question about the routine cards and if those are individually purchasable. We're super excited about those. I'm so glad to hear that you are too. They're not individually purchasable at this time, but that is something that we'll consider because I know that they have value and use across multiple products, regardless of what you're using. All right, and I am thrilled to turn it back over to Laura Stewart to talk to us about our sort of upcoming opportunities.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for doing such a wonderful job of previewing this exciting product. And we've had lots of activity in the chat. And hopefully your questions were answered. But if they were not, we're going to be giving you the contact information for your local account executives. You can always reach out to them. So I just wanted to share with you some upcoming events. We're very excited about these. So we've been doing a series of webinars called Science of Reading 2.0 that's really focused on implementation. And we've already done 2 of those, which are now available on demand. The first was called Delivering on the Promise of Literacy for All. And the second was called Big Questions, Bold Moves for Leaders, essentially. I'm really excited to be hosting our February 6th webinar, which is all about the implementation science, which is really important for us to be thinking about not just the science of reading, the science of learning, but also the implementation science when we think about how do we bridge research to practice. And then in May, we'll be hosting a webinar on the protecting our science of reading investment. What do we make sure that we're investing in so that we get the best results for our students? On February 20th, I'll be in conversation with Dr. Deb Glazer, and I'm sure many of you know Dr. Deb, know and love Dr. Deb. And she is the author of Morphine Magic, which is part of 95% Group. And so this webinar will be really focusing on morphology. You do not want to miss that. So scan the QR code and you can register for these upcoming events. Also, this is super exciting for those of you in Kansas City or those of you who want to come to Kansas City, to see some really, you might catch a football star when you're coming to Kansas City. April 1st and 2nd, we're hosting a 2-day symposium on the science of reading, specifically on implementation and building that literacy vision. And we really want you to bring your whole team. We want district leaders, building leaders, teachers, anybody that's really invested in thinking about how can we move our district or our school toward transformation in literacy. And you can see our lineup there. We've got a wonderful lineup of experts to really share their implementation story and their expertise in this 2-day event at the Westin Kansas City at Crown Center. Go ahead and scan this QR code to learn more and join us in Kansas City. All right, as promised, here is a list of all the account executives and their contact information. So if your question was not answered, or you simply want to reach out to your account executive to learn more about 95% Group and our products and services, here you go. Also, here's contact information for myself and Joni and Leah and Shanitra. So with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight and for taking your valuable time, your valuable and precious time, and joining us to learn more about this game-changing intervention solution. And again, thank you, Leah, Joni, Shanitra, Barb. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks again for joining us.